Hello, this is Vince here from shoutcaststrategy.com. I'm bringing you the finals of the semifinal, or the last game of the semifinals, that way it doesn't sound quite so weird, of Paul, who is spawning as Terran, versus somebody who's spawning as Terran. So even though I actually had 0 Terrans sign up for my tournament, we actually end up with a Terran versus Terran matchup. Thank you, Blizzard, for not failing us on random. Somebody asking if it's a little laggy. Paul says it's fine. I may have been lagging the game a little bit with my old computer, but now I've got a new amazing beast of a computer and it's working great. Again, thank you to any of my new subscribers. I appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. I like to see my subscriber numbers keep climbing. Every time I get one of those little email notifications that I got a new subscriber, it makes me very happy. Both players, again, starting the wall off because they don't know that they are in yet again another mirror match, and will be interested to see what strategy they go for. Vikings and tanks really still kind of dominate this matchup, especially at lower tiers, so it'll be interesting to see if the players go for Marauders. That can be very effective early because that's before the tanks hit a real critical mass. Marauders are very, very effective against tanks. And both players continuing the wall off, throwing the barracks down. Stuff you expect to see, everything so far fairly standard. It looks like, however, Paul is getting his refinery earlier. Not by much though. And both SCVs are running the wrong way, so I'm sure they're both afraid of whatever the matchup might be. They're not quite sure where their opponent is. I'm not sure if we will see the SCVs bump head and clash their little claws and talons. Nope, they just say hi. But I think somebody did notice Paul there, so I think he does know it's a Terran versus Terran matchup. That orbital command should be coming in very soon for somebody, and for Paul it is also coming in. Paul getting a very fast tech lab, and speaking of that, I will throw up the production tab. While somebody is getting out that Marine, I'd like to see that Marine rallied right here, so hopefully you can hold position and completely stop Terran from busting in. I don't like finishing the wall off, but you know, that's alright too. Oh, is he going to deny the... Oh, if he had stayed there a little bit longer, he would have denied the tech lab and delayed it just by a half of a second. Paul's SCV not finding anything too exciting over here. And poor Paul's SCV trying to get inside and can't. Looks like somebody's SCV made it in and out, so Paul is continuing to crank the Marauders, hoping to apply some early pressure while somebody is throwing down Reapers, which is surprising to see 2 Reapers queued up. Oh, it looks like that was a mistake as that one just disappeared. Probably using the Reaper as a delayed scout. That's not a terrible idea. Paul is, however, already researching concussive shells, which I don't think is that valuable in Terran versus Terran, but it is a fairly cheap upgrade and can come in handy when your opponent is running away. So Paul is getting his second gas up. Somebody already on his second gas, as I'm sure he's building a factory right now. Paul has no factory in sight, so really just hoping those Marauders do well. And here's that Reaper in here shooting SCVs. So the SCVs surround the Reaper, and that Reaper is going to die very fast. On a little piece of advice, always kill the gas carriers first, as that way the player has to remember to replace the gas carriers. You can screw that up. It's a lot more important than killing one guy on minerals. Yet another tech lab going down for Paul, so really going to be cranking out those Marauders. Looks like somebody's doing about the same thing, getting his... I thought you had... Yeah, there's a starport right there. So, getting a starport out much faster. Don't think he's going to be going Vikings yet, as this factory is building a reactor, so definitely not going to be going for the typical tank and Viking build. Now this I do like by Paul, lining up his units along the edge here, so any forces coming from somebody will get shot by these Marauders as they go by. Very nice placement by Paul of these Marauders. And similar from somebody, just a little closer to his ramp. Has a reactor for pumping out lots of Marines, which I find a little bit surprising since tanks are so prevalent in this matchup and Marines are currently terrible against tanks. Maybe when the nerf comes to tanks, they won't be quite as terrible, but I think they'll still be fairly bad. Throwing down yet another barracks. This is actually 4 barracks, starport, and factory. A lot of units to be producing off of one base. A little surprised to see that, especially since all 3 of these aren't even fully active, just the Marines cranking out. What does he see in Paul's base? Absolutely nothing, so I think that's kind of risky to be pumping that many Marines. Having nice control of the Zelnaga watchtower to make sure nothing's coming. Always a good idea, and it looks like Paul has got a Hellion out, which I find kind of surprising. I guess he decided to build it, you know, why not? So, there's a scan going down, seeing the starport and factory, so no tech lab on the factory, so he knows there's no tanks coming out. Looks like somebody is getting ready to load up his units, but Paul should know this is coming since he had just scanned it. Paul's units are indeed moving. Oh, they are moving up for a drop as well, so this is a fairly big drop coming from somebody. Paul does see it though, so he is not going to easily allow this drop to continue. Moves back a little bit to drop himself and scares this away without too much of a problem. He did take out this refinery, which does slow down the gas production a little bit. Not a bad target. I would have rather see him pick off a few of the SCVs instead, as I think one refinery is a very quick build time. It is only 30 seconds, and an SCV trains in about half that time, so killing 3 SCVs is more effective than that are on gas, more effective than destroying the refinery, maybe. And it looks like Paul is now going for the counter drop, but this missile turret says no. Looks like somebody has his 2 medevacs around scouting. They are not currently loaded up, so just seeing what's going on. Paul is throwing up a command center, and so is somebody. About the same timing. Looks like somebody moving out all of his forces, maybe doing a little bit of pressure, maybe loading these up for yet another drop. Yes, it looks like he is. 1 Marauder left behind. That poor Marauder is now sad. It looks like he's going to drop right up here and just do as much damage as he can. Looks like Paul is now indeed getting his tanks out. Here comes Paul simming over just to kill off the units, and with that tank there, this will make a huge difference. However, there aren't enough Marines left from Paul to take down those medevacs, which is a slight shame. But looks like Paul is loading up his own counter drop, so we will be seeing if that's going to be effective. Somebody is researching siege tech. Paul is currently not, so looks like we will be moving into tanks very shortly. Looks like somebody is also loading up medevacs. This time Paul's drop is moving all the way around as to avoid this 1-2 missile turrets. A very, very good idea. Looks like Paul is moving in straight for the drop, killing lots of SCVs, doing some decent damage. I'm sure target the command center in a second, but no, actually doing the smart thing, going for the supply depots, absolutely wrecking somebody's army. And it looks like somebody is going for a counter drop himself. However, these 2 siege tanks will be very devastating to deal with. As soon as these units land, they're going to get nailed by the siege tanks. Paul's drop back here is doing lots of damage. This drop here isn't being that effective. Paul, somebody does GG from this drop in the back. I think he's going to try to come back and defend it instead of trying to push and do a counter drop and a base trade. However, Paul will take this game, and he will move on to the finals to see if he can win the 2nd Shoutcast Strategy Tournament. Thanks for watching this, and stay tuned for more replays from me.